Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the latest episode of the Writers Podcast. I have with me today writer Rachel Holm. Hello, Rachel.
Hello, hello. Thanks for
How
having
are you
me.
doing?
Doing all right, thanks.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
what genre is it that you write?
I write in romance, contemporary romance specifically.
Okay. And that is a very big field in fiction writing, of course. So I'll be curious to find out how you came to make the decision to write in that genre. But let's get a little background about yourself. Were you a big reader growing up?
Oh, huge reader, yeah. At the library, the local bookstore, and the local small town mall, like every week. So yeah, big reader.
Okay. And did you have a favorite genre or genres?
Um, Probably I read a lot, like, in the sort of like middle grade, like YA genre. So I was a Sweet Valley High reader. I love the Babysitters Club, like Saddle Club. I'm aging myself here, which I'm aware of. But so like, things about like Gossip Girls, like things about teenagers, like living life. So there was always sort of a little romantic thread there, but they weren't necessarily maybe your romance novels. So
Okay.
yeah.
And what led you to want to become a writer then?
So, I always loved telling stories. I would always, in school, if given the chance between writing a paper and studying for a test, I'd always pick writing a paper. I just always was
Okay.
easier for me to kind of portray myself that way. And then during the pandemic, that's when I really started reading a lot. We had a lot of time to do solitary activities.
Hmm.
And I was reading a lot of these romance novels and really thought, there's a story here. And so then I thought I would take a crack at writing one of my own and found that I really loved that idea. And just loved the idea of taking these stories that meant so much to me and creating my own to share with other people. And so started writing, and here we are.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
uh, what was your background then? Like, are you, do you have a creative background to begin with, or like, what was your day gig before this?
My day job that I left was I was in higher education administration. So I was actually a
Oh,
registrar at a small graduate school.
okay.
So
So
yeah.
that's a bit of a different vocation than what you're doing now.
Definitely, yeah, yeah. I mean, whenever I went to college, being an author was something that you had to get a traditional publishing deal for. Ebooks weren't a thing, and so self-publishing wasn't as big as it is, and so it's just a world that I never really allowed myself to consider whenever I made my decision after high school. So
Okay. So how did you go about uh, writing then? What did you do to
yeah.
learn that
Um,
craft?
so well, so I think craft is always ongoing, but I was a bookstagrammer is kind of how, and so I got started and got interested in learning how to self-publish. So I did a lot of book club meetings or just talking to
Okay.
authors in general,
Okay.
hearing about their process, their writing, and so learned a little bit from that. And then so just kind of learning. I got connected with a great editor through my sister-in-law who was really helpful in the
Mm,
process, kind of helping me along the way, doing all like a developmental edit in that first book and then a line edit and a copy edit, really
okay.
helping me piece together that first story.
Okay.
And then I did start an MFA in writing popular fiction.
Mm,
Then I started it right after my first book came out, and I can see how much I've grown even uh,
okay.
with that learning there. So I,
Okay.
I'm coming back around for the second master's in the creative field.
Right. So
So
that sounds like a pretty accelerated learning curve.
it was, yeah.
Like, so nothing you took prior educationally was writing related, or
No, I mean, I was a psychology major, and in my undergrad, we had to write comprehensive projects. So and
hmm.
my English teacher was big on the creative in high school, was huge on the creative writing, huge on writing the essays. So
Okay.
I feel like I had some writing experience, but no experience writing long fiction stories
Okay.
necessarily. Yeah.
So you've come up to the point now where you've got one book already out, capitally matched, correct?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
your next one will be capitally engaged.
Yes.
So this is it's a series. How many books do you plan in this series?
So it'll be an interconnected series of standalones of 5 books. So it's
Five
based on
bucks.
5 brothers. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
that sounds like what was that? 12 Brides for 12 Brothers or whatever that movie was. I can't
Something.
remember. Like that
Yeah.
musical. Alrighty. So each book is what then focusing on
A different
male,
brother.
the different brother. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious. Why did you choose the male viewpoint? I would have thought you have taken the female viewpoint.
So they're also I actually my books are all written in dual POV, so they
Okay.
include both the female and the male point of view if the story is between a heroine and a hero. And but I the connection choosing with the brothers, it actually was inspired by a photograph that I came across of it was 5 brothers, and aesthetically they were all so different. And I looked at this
Hmm.
group of brothers and I was like, there is something for every taste of men in this
Okay.
photo. And
Wow.
that kind of really sparked it, being like, you can have 5 brothers, but they can all, resemble each other, but all be so different. And what would that look like for each of them to find love? So
Okay.
yeah.
So even though your books are going with 5 brothers, it sounds like it's a sort of a connected universe. Or like, do these brothers show up in the each other's books?
They do,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so Capitally Matched is actually my second book. I wrote a debut. It was a
Oh,
Christmas novel, but so there is an interconnected world with there as well. But the brothers
okay.
do show up. So all of the capital E is kind of a play on the capital of the United States. So they all take
Okay.
place in Washington D.C. So it's a little play on
Okay.
that. And
So,
so we've had all of the brothers, but one in person in the first book, and but they have they do text messages and stuff too, so you kind of start to learn their personalities a little bit through
okay. And this is
that. Yeah,
set in contemporary times?
it sure is. Yeah,
Okay, very good.
yeah.
Now, since it's set in Washington, is there politics involved as well, or
So I mean, I don't. I know that sometimes people, or a lot of times people, read romance to escape, and so I don't want to get overly political.
okay,
Capitally Engaged does feature the 2 people who work for a U.S. senator, so
okay,
that one's kind of set against the background of politics, but I wouldn't necessarily call it a political story.
okay. So uh, you've got 5 brothers. You're gonna have 5 novels. What's the like you said your inspiration was that photo.
Yeah.
How are you interconnecting the stories as you go forward with the series? And like you starting with the oldest brother and working your way down, or are you just kind of jumping around? Like how are you approaching
Um,
that?
so I started with he's the middleest brother. So there's actually a set of twins, but he's the older twin, so he's actually smack dab in the middle.
Okay,
And he just was the right pick for my heroine, who was the best friend for my first book. So kind of that shared world there.
okay,
And so I do know what order they're going to be in. Readers know who the second brother is, and they will know who the third brother is by the end of the second book. But I'm kind of keeping the rest of the order a little bit close to my vest. But it just
okay,
sort of kind of fell into the order that kind of just the stories needed to be told, build up the intrigue about a couple of them,
hmm,
or it's taking a little bit longer to get a couple of the brothers to the city, just because of where they were in their life. So just
okay.
and so it's not necessarily in birth order, and I couldn't tell you 100% the rationale for the order, but there is a rationale to it now.
Okay. Um, so I guess the obvious question is, do these brothers get along with each other?
They do, they do,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. So I mean, so there are sibling rivalries, of course, are siblings that kind of argue with each other a little bit, but for the most part, it's a really, really supportive family, and a brother and brothers who aren't afraid to show that they care about each other, that they support each other.
Okay.
And the background of the story is that their mother died whenever the oldest was about 10 or 11,
Mm,
and so their father did remarry, but for a long time, they were kind of on their own, because their father was trying to make sure that he could keep a family of 6 together.
okay.
And so they have a tight bond because of the way that they grew up.
Okay. You said family of 6. Oh, you just meant the father
The
and
five brothers and the
okay.
dad. Yeah.
So the father's remarried. Are there any other siblings?
There are not, no.
No, okay.
No.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah, 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 no,
So,
yeah, I chose to make the stepmother, a businesswoman who, just decided that she didn't choose to have children, but she, has welcomed the role of being stepmother to these then grown men.
okay.
So,
And
yeah.
do your five brothers, do they sort of fit into the traditional modes? Like, is the oldest one the most responsible, and the younger ones are the more wild and like kind of thing, or
The oldest one's definitely the most responsible, especially because, of them losing a parent, while they were
hmm
so young. He kind of stepped into that role to help raise them.
okay,
The youngest one, isn't necessarily the most wild, but he definitely probably, I mean, has sort of he has a youngish child sort of, vibe about him, I
all
would say.
right. So,
Yeah.
and what's the age range of the characters?
So in book one, they are 33 to 28,
Okay. Oh,
27.
that
So
was a
yeah.
busy mom.
Yes. Well, I mean, twins help out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Okay. And uh, what the first book, Happily Matched, which of the brothers is featured?
that is Hayden. That's one of the twins. So the older of
Okay.
the two twins. Yeah.
Okay. And do you want to give like a quick little your elevator pitch for that book?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So Happily Matched features Hayden, and then Charlotte is our heroine, and they are both in DC, both new to the city. And Charlotte is there to take a chance on herself. She has an internship working for a nonprofit that supports independent bookstores, and Hayden is there to take a job with his oldest brother Duncan's company. And they're both sort of searching for what's right, what's the next move for them. But how they kind of get together is they end up both living in the same apartment. They're not.
Oh,
Duncan isn't aware that Charlotte had made arrangements to stay there through his assistant that got fired. So he said that Hayden could live there after Hayden's original living arrangements fell through, and so they're kind of stuck in this condo together, and we kind of see them go from there. So
okay, very cool. As
yeah.
were you taking any inspirations from any other like books or movies with that plot? Because it sounds.
Um, Yeah, I mean, so it does take a little bit from a fairly common trope in
hmm
romance, called forced proximity is what we typically call it in the
Oh, okay.
romance genre.
Ooh,
So
you have
it's something
technical
that
terms for this, do you?
yeah, it's a whole there's a whole lexicon.
Okay.
Yeah, but so forced proximity is so it's finding some sort of mechanism for why these characters have to be together in the same shared
Okay.
space. It just kind of came to me that that was going to be what it was, and I wanted them to do like sort of a low stakes prank war, trying to get the other one to move out. So
Oh,
nothing like super mean and nothing super
right.
cruel, but sort of funny little stuff. So
Right, right. Okay, very cool. And
yeah,
your upcoming book is Happily Engaged. What's that one
yeah.
about?
So that one features Preston, who's the second oldest, and he is a speechwriter for a junior senator from Rhode Island. And he comes across Jax, short for Jacqueline, who is our heroine, when she is in gastrointestinal distress in the visitor center of the Capitol building. And so
Okay.
he helps her out and takes her back to his boss's office so that she can use the restroom there. And they get discovered there, and his boss has just declared that no outside people are allowed to be in the office. And so Preston panics and says, "Well, this is my fiance, so that's why she's here." And for reasons, they decide that staying engaged is worthwhile to both of them.
Ah,
They move into Preston's studio apartment and kind of navigate living from there. So I love a forced proximity. I did it twice in a row, but
okay, cool.
it's fun. So
And your tone of your books is do you like prefer are you leaning into like more comedic or kind of humor, or
yeah.
as opposed to like, you know, soap opera drama, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're contemporary romance slash rom-coms. I mean, I don't wouldn't call them. Sometimes rom-coms brings up, super rompy, like comedic,
hmm
like humor every moment. There's definitely funny parts throughout it, but it does touch upon serious themes as well. So kind of straddling that line there, but definitely humor, definitely
Okay,
laughs.
and that
So
that book is coming out this August, is that correct?
it is August 29th. Yeah,
Okay, and
yeah.
what's up on deck for you now then?
In my MFA, I am working on another novel project as well. That one is actually set in the city of Pittsburgh, which is near where I grew up, and so that's about a baseball player and the former owner's daughter. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so kind of starting a different series there that we'll see where that one takes us.
All right. And what about
Yeah.
in your Capital series? What's the next book there?
Oh yeah, so after that it will be capitally unexpected. I haven't officially announced the brother for that one yet or the
Okay.
tropes, but any romance readers out there may be able to get a hint of
Okay.
what that book will be about. So
All right. So you've locked into the five brothers that you want to feature in these books.
yeah.
Does that mean that you sort of leave the female characters till you actually get to that book, or do you have those all mapped out as well? Like, how's
Well,
that working for you?
yeah, so I know who the love interests will be for all of the books. We haven't met all of them yet. We meet the love interest from book three in book two,
Hmm.
and then we might meet the love interest from book four and book three. I haven't quite gotten there yet.
Okay.
So I know who they all are, but they may not have been introduced to the readers quite yet.
All
So
right. And
yeah,
uh, I assume that this is just your, well, you've mentioned the other book that you're working on.
yeah.
Are you planning to work in other genres at all, or?
So I have started a paranormal romance, so which is
Okay.
another subgenre of romance.
Hmm.
Definitely open to kind of dabbling there. I love the idea of writing a cozy mystery, but as somebody, whenever like I read mysteries, I never solve them ahead of time. I never figure them out, and so the idea of plotting a mystery and like making sure you leave the clues is actually
Hmm.
really that's really daunting to me. But it's something that maybe just if I ever find myself needing a break or trying to do something different, I might give myself a little launch into that.
Right. Okay, so let's turn a little bit to the actual writing process for you
Yeah,
then, because you've like it sounds like you're taking a course to do that. What about like feedback for your book and that? Are you part of writing groups, or like how do you go about getting, or you just have a bunch of selected readers that you trust and get their feedback?
yeah. I have an independent editor that I work with that I
Hmm.
trust a lot. So she does a lot of she does line edits and copy edits for me. And then I do have some trusted readers and friends who do sort of an alpha read for me. And so kind of read before it's been edited, before anything goes there to try and before it even goes to my editor to just make sure that the story makes sense, that it's hitting the beats. Is there any like big gaps? And then with capitally engaged, this is the first time that I'm including some different representation. So as I
Hmm.
sort of alluded to, Jax is in gastrointestinal distress. So she does have irritable bowel syndrome. And so I'm going to be looking for some readers who also, that's something that they live with as well. So making sure that her experience sort of doesn't seem outrageous to them. I mean, everybody's experience was lived, things are
Hmm.
going to be different. But with that, and then also there's living with grief and having lost loved ones is a big part of capitally engaged as well. So getting some readers who have that lived experience. So doing some very intentional sort of reads with that to make sure that I have hit some chords and also haven't gotten anything terribly wrong.
Right,
So
right.
yeah.
And typically, what's the word count on your stories?
So yeah, so the capitally engaged and capitally matched are a little bit shorter, so they come in right between 60 and 65,000, which comes out to like 220-ish pages.
Okay,
So
very good.
yeah,
And are you self-published, or are you with a publisher?
these are self-published. Yes,
Self-published.
yeah.
And do you do that, or do you have somebody doing it for you?
I'm doing it. I work, as I mentioned, I work with my editor. I do the formatting myself. I have a wonderful cover designer who
Okay.
takes my word vomit and my ideas and puts out something completely beautiful and wonderful. And so I have a lot of help along the way, but am publishing them myself. Pushing publish on the files on Amazon as it is. So yeah.
Very good. And um, your typical writing schedule, what kind of a day do you like to put in?
So I mean, 1,500 to 2,000 words, I feel like is a great day.
Okay.
A couple of hours here and there. Because I am in school and I do work part time, and then I'm publishing these books. It's kind of a balancing act of fitting all those things in a day.
Okay.
But yeah,
So I'm very interested to hear your answer to this next question, because you've
sure.
got like five books and you've got five brothers,
Hmm.
and I'm wondering, how do you consider yourself a plotter? or a pantser?
See, that's a great question because I'm very much a pantser, but
Doesn't sound like it.
I know, right? So I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with the like the meme or the GIF of Charlie from It's Always Sunny, where he's like looking at the map that's behind him with all of the different like um arrows drawn together connecting the different things. That's very
Hmm.
much what this mind map is like of the timelines of these books and how the things connect. And
Okay.
so I did stop. I did figure out, you know, who are these brothers, what are their ages, you know, how old were they when their mom died, since that was going to be a
Hmm.
defining incident, you know, how old are they in book one, how are these things going to fit together. So I did do that. But I honestly, actually, when I started writing book one, I wasn't 100% sure how I was going to get all those brothers to DC. And so that sort of fell in. So
Hmm.
I have the structure. I know what the tropes are. I know who the people will be, but and I kind of have an idea where the story is going to go. But the characters end up surprising me along the way in the middle of that book a lot of times too. So
Okay, very cool. I'm
yeah.
I'm curious. You've got 5 books, but like when you get all the fifth brother married, is there going to be sort of like a, or maybe that'll be in the 5th book, but is there going to be kind of like a big gathering of all these couples, or like what do you plan to do with all these
Oh,
people?
that's a great question. Yeah. I mean, so my book at this point, my books don't necessarily end with them being married or engaged. We may see a
Oh, okay.
wedding. We may see a wedding as you know the time goes on with the rest of the books. I like to write kind of an extended epilogue to revisit the characters a little bit while later,
Right.
and I have proposals planned for some of the couples for that.
Mm.
And so, but I think the brothers are in the books, and so like you know we may see them. I try to get the group of whoever is in the city that it makes sense. I try to get them together and on the
Hmm.
page together for at least one scene each book. So we're kind of seeing those characters again and
Okay.
learning about them.
And
So.
is there any um, sort of rivalry between brothers for the same girl, or is that something you don't even want to get into?
Um,
Or
it's not something that I really want to get into. There is a little Easter egg that I've planted in this book that I'm interested to see if readers pick up on. It's not necessarily a rivalry, but it's
okay,
a little mention of the love interest, and just but it's so kind of just tying those things together. But
okay. And
yeah,
the 2 brothers that are twins, are they identical?
they are. Yeah,
Okay. And do you
yeah.
play with that at all, or?
No, I don't because one of them has a lot of tattoos, so it would be very
Oh,
easy to tell
oh, okay.
them apart that way. Yeah,
All right, very
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Um, I think that's everything I've got. Is there anything that hasn't come up that you'd like to mention at this point?
No, I mean that's about it. We hit the highlights. Capitally Matched is out now. Capitally Engaged is coming this August. I'm hoping to have this series finished by the middle of 2026. So
Wow.
it'll be fun to spend time with them. But I'm also eager to get all of their stories out into the world because
Right.
people are very excited about certain brothers, and I'm like I can't tell you when, but you'll get them.
Okay.
So
As the mother of these characters, I
yeah.
have to ask you, do you have a favorite son?
Oh, um, I am really excited for Hunter's book, who is the other twin.
Oh, okay.
He's my my sweet little sort of wild child who is
Is this the
gonna
tattoo
find his
boy?
way. Yes, tattoo boy.
Tattoo
Yeah.
boy. Okay,
So
very
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Um, as the oldest in my family of
Uh-huh.
siblings, where does the oldest one in your series fit in, or you can't say that yet?
Um, the oldest, and I'm not gonna say it yet where what book that he is in, just because I'm keeping a little
Okay.
bit close to the vest. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Is he the most reserved of the characters, or?
He is the most reserved on page, but it's gonna be very interesting to get into his head. I think that
Right.
people because you know you're seeing the other brother's perspective of him, but I
Right.
think when we get into his head, people are gonna be surprised.
Okay. And is the father in the stories much, or?
He shows they actually have Thanksgiving together in the first
Okay.
book, and so we do meet the dad there. And so we don't see him in book two. But
Okay.
we'll see him again. Yeah,
Alrighty.
yeah.
And your books can be found at the usual outlets, Amazon,
Yep,
Barnes and
they're
Noble.
Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere that books are sold online, you can find them. I actually found out that Caply Matched is on Target.com. I wasn't expecting it to be
Oh,
there, so
wow.
it's even there. So
Okay,
yeah,
and is it just ebook or is it paperback or
ebook and paperback.
paperback? All
Yeah.
right, very good. Well, I wish you all the success with your series and your other projects, Rachel. It was great to have you on. And next time you get your next book out, look forward to talking to you again.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate
Not a
it.
problem. Thank you. Enjoy the
Yeah.
rest of your day.
Alrighty. Bye bye.
Okay, bye-bye.